the standard tier is forumnokia.com, where it's free for a developer to join.
Yes.
And they're able to get access to our device roadmaps. They're able to get access to our discussion boards and be able to download SDKs. But we have this developer program called Launchpad, and Launchpad, previously we've been making Launchpad available to developers for a €300 membership fee. And we're waiving that fee at the moment for key developers, so that we're basically giving €300 worth of technical support, access to discounted device programs, prioritized access to industry research papers that we're providing. So we're giving a lot of support developers in that respect. So for example, one of the things developers can do is that they're facing technical issues and they have challenges where they would like to raise a technical support request and get one of our experts to help them. That's typically a service where they would pay for that. And as part of this free Launchpad membership program, they get access to a certain number of these support requests free of charge. And as I said, access to the discounted device program. They also get access to our remote device access. So if they're building an application for one of our devices and they don't have access to that device, they can basically allocate space in one of our labs, where they can remotely, using a web interface, upload the application to the new device
and test it.
And they can test it, and they can basically, what these labs have is they're connected to a web connection, but they also have a camera that's over the device, so they can actually control the application remotely using this web interface, and they can see how the application is working, how it installs, and how it is performing on the new device. So we're making those kinds of benefits available, but then, and obviously we've done a lot to reduce the cost of publishing in the store. So it's now €1 for an individual to publish within the store, and we're now signing the applications on the behalf of the developers. So we've reduced the Symbian signing and the Java verified, which could cost up to €300. For a developer to get their application Symbian signed. So a lot of benefits there. And then on the marketing side, then what we do is we then work with the developers once they publish their application in the store. We've got a lot of marketing tools that are free of charge on the publishing tool in the store, and also within forumnokia.com. So basically, once a developer publishes their application, they get a unique URL, which takes a consumer to their application within the store. Now we have a lot of digital artwork asset creator tools that are available online free of charge. So a developer can take their logo, and they can take the URL that they've been given from within the store, and but with a few clicks they can create banners, they can create splashes, web splashes that they can then embed into their own website, into blog sites, even into email signatures, so they can share that amongst their digital marketing channels, so that if they want to promote their application within the Ovi store, they can create this banner. It's free of charge, and then anyone that clicks onto that banner will take them directly to their item in the Ovi store.
Yeah, so Kenny, can you just, for those who are already starting to, think about making their own application, what kinds of application can they actually start now? I mean, can you give us an idea about the different kinds of applications that you support in Ovi Store?
So I guess what I would say is, there's a whole number of levels of which a developer, you can be a developer with Nokia platforms. So even today, I mean, the area that I spend most of my time working with are developers that have experience of working either in the mobile domain or the desktop domain. So what we talk about is, how can we take their skill set, their experience, if they're a web developer, for example, of using HTML, JavaScript, how easy is it for them to come to Nokia and build? And we talk about then the Web Runtime SDK. And what we then do is we share with them, examples of the types of applications that we see are very sticky. And when I say sticky, I mean that consumers are using them a lot.
Yes.
So as an example, we see applications that social messaging applications and applications that enable consumers to stay in touch with their social networks are proving to be tremendously popular within the Ovi store. We also see that, from a gaming perspective, and this is where we talk to the game developers, is that we see that the games that perform better in the store from the
We have
developers.
lots of good gaming developers in the Philippines.
We're very fortunate. We have, we work, we try and work with the best partners that we can in the industry, and we're very privileged to have people, some of the more established games companies such as EA and Gameloft that, are more the traditional games publishers. But then there's also the new breed of games publishers such as Rovio, who created
Yes,
Angry Birds,
Angry Birds,
and we were very happy that they were available at the Nokia Developer Summit. They came on stage and they showed how, for example, they're working on some of our newer features in the store, such as in-application purchase as a capability, and how they're using that to make Angry Birds take it to the next level with the Nokia devices. And what we found with the games companies is that, the games companies that are proving to be more successful are the ones that are really optimizing their experience for the device. So as an example, what that means is that, the publishers that decide to build native gaming experiences for our Symbian devices and using, building with native tools, they're getting a lot more success than the developers that just choose to port their existing Java application to the Symbian device. So what we're seeing is that consumers really appreciate that high-end, rich experience, and what that's translating to is stronger ratings within the Obi store, which we see as a direct correlation between if you get good ratings for your application, consumers trust those ratings, and that turns into downloads and purchases. But then at the other end, we also have conversations going on with consumers and prosumers, I would describe. So anyone can be a developer within Obi Store. If you're a prosumer and you don't know anything about developing applications, you can still build an application in Obi Store using tools such as Obi App Wizard. So Obi App Wizard is it's a self-service tool where if you have a website or you have content that you're able to convert into an RSS feed, within minutes you can actually build an application.
Yeah, I actually did that with App Wizard.
Okay, great. So,
Complete with banners.
But let's say you want to try something more low level. What language would you recommend the newbie learn? Like C, Objective C, or?
So I think if you're really trying to go low level, I think definitely we would be encouraging them to look at C. And I think because that's the most flexible language, and that really fits in very well with our Qt environment as well. Because then it's very easy for them to then use a Qt compiler to be able to then take their application and build the Qt the Qt version of the application. So we would definitely say that for native level performance, we would definitely encourage that. But obviously, with the investments that we're making with the Web SDK, we recognize that there's a lot of developers that are coming to mobile for the first time, and their background is in web. And we really want to make it as easy as possible. And actually today, when you look at our Web SDK, we are increasing the number of APIs that are available in our device to the web developers that we're making available. So if you build a web runtime application today, you're able to use your HTML, your JavaScript language experience to build your web application, but you're able to then also utilize some of the capabilities of the device. So you're able to call the camera from within that application, you're able to use the GPS capabilities within the device, you're able to use the messaging framework, you're able to use a calendar framework. So what we see is actually, even with the web applications, or what we would describe as widgets, they're using a lot of functionality within the device. We have examples of applications. So a great example is we've got an application from Greenbelt. So Greenbelt came to us and said, listen, we want to build an application that uses that helps consumers to find the restaurants and the shops in our malls.
Yeah.
And so they built a widget, and with that widget they're able to use the location-based service capabilities of the device. They're also able to search all the restaurants and shopping malls within that widget. When they get the listing that they're looking for, they're able to save that listing to their phone book. They're able to call the restaurant and make a reservation with that widget. or they're able to actually, add it to their calendar, so they make an appointment and they can save that to the calendar capabilities in the device. So what we see is, even from the web SDK, that we're trying to increase as much functionality as possible, make it a common language that developers can understand, but then also bring the unique capabilities of the device, so that they, don't just build a web version of their application for the device, but they optimize it. So, it's great. Every device that we're shipping as a smartphone has location capabilities. So let's try to think about, how can we utilize those? How can developers really make the applications location aware and add the value to that? How can they use the calendar capability? Because more people use the calendar as a scheduling tool on their mobile phone. So let's make sure that if you make a reservation, if you're interested in going to the cinema and you make plans for that, let's save it to the the phone book on the calendar. Let's share it via the messaging application. So we really, with those are capabilities that exist within the native developer today, but we're trying to make those capabilities more and more available to the web developer as well, to the web SDK.
So the web runtime, you're saying it's based somewhat on HTML and JavaScript.
Yeah, so it's based on it's based on the new standard, which is Web3 W3C compatible standard. So this is industry standard. It's common web runtime is what we're calling it, but it's using the W3C industry compliance, and so that uses all the
so like XML.
Exactly, CSS, JavaScript. And then, obviously, in addition to that, with our SDK, then we have all the mobile-specific APIs that we're bringing in. So then we add to that the camera API, the messaging API, the scheduling, and the biggest one I think that I'm most excited about is really the location API, because then really what you then start to do is you start to see how you're able to use location specific applications. So an example, Munch Punch. So they're offering they've obviously got food listings and food directories, but there's a much better experience when you're looking for food. Sometimes you want to look for food based on a particular type of cuisine or a restaurant, but quite often you want to look for food based on your location. That's a defining feature, so they're able to use that in a way where they're able to use the location-based capabilities of the device to say, okay, show me what's interesting around me. Show me what the interesting cuisines are and the interesting restaurants based on my location first, and then of course I can search if I want to do different things.
So Kenny, can you tell us more about what are right now in the OV store, what are the top applications? What are the most downloaded ones? Just so we have an idea on what kind of application. Yeah. On which application that we can, start or stand on the shoulder on.
I think if we look as an example in the Philippines, what we see is there's we have a number of games from some of the big games publishers, and they're doing very well in the store. But as I said, there's also applications that are doing very well in the store. Applications that help you stay connected to your social network. So applications such as eBuddy and Nimbus are proving to be very, very popular within the OV store. Not just in the Philippines, but that's actually consistent through many markets. Consumers are wanting to download applications that help them to connect to their Twitter account, help them to connect to their Facebook accounts or their LinkedIn, whatever the social network that they're using. So I would say that they're pretty popular. Skype in the Philippines is doing very well. Opera as a mobile browser, so some people are choosing to download Opera as a solution, and then what's also proving to be quite popular is some of the themes, so some of the personalization. So and that's not really surprising, to be honest. People want to customize their device. They want to change the look and the feel of their device. So we tend to see that those are the things that are driving from the global types of content that are driving the downloads. And then what we start to see from the local developers are the applications that I would describe as high utility applications. So seeing things like Inquirer, seeing things such as what we're doing with Greenbelt Media, which are these high utility applications, some applications that people will use on a frequent basis. People like to check the news, do things like Click the City, for example, where they're accessing, frequently they're accessing, what's going on around them, what's happening in the news, and so those types of applications where people will maybe use those 4 or 5 times a week to stay connected, stay up to date with the news. So those are the kinds of things that we see are being very popular.